So, I can't teach you how to read. That is way beyond my pay grade. But I can tell you the 5 biggest mistakes that students make when taking their B2 First and C1 Advanced reading exams. And then you won't make these mistakes. And that will make the examiners happy, which will make you happy, which will make me happy, and then life will be marvellous. So, let's go. Yes, I know, this is really boring, but underlining can help you choose the correct answers and also check that you've chosen the correct answers. For part 5 of the B2 First and the C1 Advanced Reading and Use of English paper, you should underline why you have chosen an answer and maybe even underline why you haven't chosen another. That way, when you're checking your answers at the end, you're not going to have to try and figure out why you chose an answer or why you didn't choose another one. Seriously, this will save you time, so just do it. Why wouldn't you? God! Underlining is also important for the same reason in Part 7 of the B2 First Reading and Use of English paper and Part 8 of the C1 Advanced Reading and Use of English paper. In this exercise, you're given 4 short texts or 1 text split into 4 sections, and you have 10 questions which ask you to identify where certain pieces of information are located. Oof. If you do not underline in this section, then seriously, you have no way of checking your answers. And it could be that when you read another section of the text, you find a better answer to the answer you gave before, but if you've got no way of checking it, or you have to waste time rereading another section, then God, I mean, that's really annoying. And all of that could have been solved by a simple underline. So yes, Part 7 of the B2 First Reading and Use of English paper and Part 8 of the C1 Advanced Reading and Use of English paper really does require underlining, okay? Okay. But remember, underlining isn't just good for checking your answers, it can also be crucial for choosing the correct answer. This is especially the case for Part 6 of the B2 First and Use of English paper and Part 7 of the C1 Advanced Reading and Use of English paper. In this section, you will need to put a paragraph or a sentence into the correct space in a text. And identifying pronouns is essential in order to do this correctly. So, while you're reading the text and while you're reading the missing paragraphs and the missing sentences, you should be underlining every single pronoun that you see. That way, every time you place a sentence or a paragraph into the text, you can ask yourself if these pronouns have fulfillment in the text. Underlining in this section then makes it impossible for you to not notice certain things. And these are things that you really need to notice to do the exercise correctly. So please underline, okay? Good. Candidates will often read entire texts before they try to answer the questions. And this sounds good, but actually, no, don't do that, no. Okay, sometimes it is important to do that. If you're doing Part 6 or Part 7 of the C1 Advanced Reading and Use of English paper, then yes, please do make sure you read the texts in their entirety before trying to answer any of the questions. However, for other sections, it's really not necessary, and if you're doing it, then you could be wasting your time. Take Part 5, for example. All the questions are in the order that the answers appear in the text, right? So you don't need to read the end to have the answer for question 1. Instead, it makes more sense to read question 1 and then read the introduction to the text to try and find the answer to question 1, and then read question 2 and then look for the answer after where you found the answer for question 1, right? That'll save you a lot of time. Personally, I would take a similar approach to Part 7 of the B2 First Reading and Use of English paper and Part 8 of the C1 Advanced Reading and Use of English paper. There is absolutely no need to read all of the texts before you try answering any of the questions. Instead, it makes more sense to scan all of the questions and then read one of the texts and see how many questions you can answer, while underlining. Remember to underline. So, don't give yourself extra work. Don't read all of the text in detail when you don't need to. Focus on answering the questions. If you don't, this could happen. Look, use of English is important, all right? But if you don't know an answer, move on. God. For the B2 First Reading and Use of English paper, you have 1 hour and 15 minutes to complete 4 Use of English sections and 3 reading sections. Please do not spend more than half an hour on the use of English, okay? Yes? Yes? This is even more important for the C1 Advanced exam. You have 1 hour and 30 minutes to complete 4 use of English sections and 4 reading sections. Good God, that is a lot of sections. So you should be dedicating 30 minutes to the use of English and a full hour to the reading. Again, if you haven't finished the use of English section after 30 minutes, then just move ahead because you really do need 15 minutes for each reading section. I promise you. Have we got it? Do we understand? I think we do, so let's go ahead. What do I mean when I say wrong reading? Wrong reading is trying to understand every single word that you read. Wrong reading is focusing on the words that you don't understand rather than the words that you do understand. Look, I hate to tell you this, but there will definitely be words in this exam that you don't understand. And I know, that's really scary, but nothing you can do about it, so... But don't worry. Learning to infer the meaning of new words from context is a valuable skill, and one that you will get better at with practice. And I'm sure you do this in your native language anyway. When you're reading something in your mother tongue and you don't understand a word, do you stop everything that you're doing to get a dictionary to try and understand it? No, you probably don't. Instead, if you understand the general point that the author is trying to make, you just go ahead, right? Now, of course, this does not mean that you should never focus on new vocabulary. It is focusing and giving attention to new words that helps you retain them. But the exam is not the place to do that. So, if you come across a new word whilst you're reading, try and understand the general sense first, generate a prediction of what that word could mean, and then after you've understood the general sense, look in a dictionary. But do it after you've understood the general sense of the text, not before, because you need to practice your inferencing skills. Yeah? Now this might come as a surprise, but if you want to get good at reading, you're gonna have to do some bloody reading, alright? And I know that seems like a stupid thing to say, but honestly, a lot of people don't realise this. Many students will just study loads of grammar and try and study loads of isolated pieces of vocabulary and then just assume that somehow this is going to improve their reading. And it may do indirectly, but right, imagine you're a football player and you need to get really good at playing football. Well, you can do lots of sit-ups, push-ups and squats, and I'm sure it's going to help in some way, but you also are going to need to play some football. All right. Learning grammar and vocabulary is similar to the push-ups, the sit-ups and the squats. Like, it's not useless, but if you want to get good at writing, speaking, reading and listening, then you're going to have to do some writing, reading, speaking and listening. Sorry, it's just the way it is, all right? So yeah, don't assume that your reading is going to be fantastic just because you know every use of the future perfect continuous and you've learned all the phrasal verbs with carry that you can find here. And there we have it. Those were the 5 most common mistakes that students make when taking the B2 First and the C1 Advanced reading paper. If you liked the video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. My name is Toby and this was Smash English.